The courtroom was stunned as 83-year-old Janice Combs, mother of Sean Diddy Combs, was unexpectedly called to the witness stand. A heavy silence fell over the federal courthouse in Manhattan. Diddy, who had remained composed throughout the trial, suddenly looked shaken. His lawyers exchanged uneasy glances, and the prosecution straightened with anticipation. Something monumental was about to unfold. Janice's appearance hadn't been announced, and no one had expected her to testify. The tension in the room was palpable as she slowly approached the stand to take the oath. Gasps echoed through the gallery. Even the judge appeared visibly surprised. Janice Combs had long been a loyal supporter of her son throughout his decades of fame, but now, under oath, she was poised to share information that could dramatically shift the course of the trial. Until this moment, Diddy had appeared confident, smiling at fans, chatting with attorneys, but that changed the instant he saw his mother take the stand. Whether it was a shock of seeing his lifelong protector testify for prosecution or the realization that his carefully constructed defense might crumble, the transformation in his demeanor was unmistakable. No longer the image of celebrity, he looked simply like a son watching his mother prepare to reveal painful truths. The courtroom wasn't ready for what Janice Combs had to say. Her testimony didn't stem from media narratives or industry gossip. It came from a mother's lived experience. She spoke of private conversations, long-held worries, and an awakening to a truth she could no longer deny. It was a heart-wrenching account of a woman coming to terms with who her son had become. The day had begun like any other in the trial. Quiet conversations, lawyers reviewing notes, journalists whispering in the gallery. But when the prosecutor announced, "The United States calls Janice Combs," the air shifted. Even Diddy, preoccupied with paperwork, froze. His face turned pale. His fingers, once confidently flipping pages, halted mid-dash motion. As Janice took her seat, she didn't meet her son's eyes. The prosecutor acknowledged how difficult her testimony must be. Janice, calm and poised despite her age, gave a slight nod. The judge allowed her to proceed, overruling a defense objection about family privilege. The room was dead silent. Reporters' hands hovered above keyboards. Sketch artists froze midline. Everyone was listening. "I'm here because the truth needs to be told, no matter how painful," she began, her voice clear. Diddy looked down, tugging at his sleeve as if bracing for impact. The prosecutor asked about her relationship with her son, and Janice spoke with deep emotion about raising him alone after his father's murder, about working multiple jobs to provide for him, about her pride in his success. She recalled his early charisma, his leadership, and how people were drawn to him. But then came the turning point. Somewhere along the way, something changed, she said. Success had come so quickly, so completely, that everyone began treating him as if he were above the rules. And eventually, he began to believe it. She spoke of troubling behavior she had witnessed, his increasing control over others, his anger, his disregard for personal boundaries. At first, she thought the stress of the entertainment world was to blame, but her visits to his homes raised red flags. Young women who seemed disoriented, frightened staff, and off-limits rooms. In one incident in 2008, she arrived unannounced at his Miami home. There had been a party the night before, and the atmosphere was off. Staff were collecting phones, and a young woman was crying as a guard let her out. Diddy had been furious to see his mother show up uninvited. Showing a photo of his Los Angeles pool house, she confirmed that he had converted it into a studio around 2010, but had barred her from entering. It struck her as odd, considering she had always been welcome in his homes. She tried to question him about what she was seeing. He brushed her off, insisting she didn't understand how things worked in his world. "It's just the industry," he'd say. "It's all consensual." When allegations against him began to surface in 2017, Janice called her son directly. "He told me the women were lying, that they just wanted money, that this happened to all successful men," she said, pausing with visible exhaustion. "And I believe him. I wanted to believe him. He's my son." Diddy had always seemed untouchable, until now. Janice Combs continued her testimony, describing how her concern deepened in early 2024 after the release of the CCTV footage showing Diddy assaulting Cassie in a hotel hallway. "I called him right after I saw that video," she said. devastated, doesn't even begin to cover it. I asked him how he could do something like that. His response, she recalled, was that it had been a difficult time in their relationship and that the video only captured one moment taken out of context. He insisted he wasn't that person anymore. The prosecutor then asked, "Did you believe him?" Janice responded simply, "No, not anymore," because I'd seen glimpses of that rage before, not toward me, but toward his staff and business partners. The man in that video wasn't a stranger to me, and that broke my heart. As her testimony continued, Janice said she began to see that the accusations against her son weren't isolated. They were part of a pattern. During a visit to Diddy's home in early 2024, she noticed a list of women's names in his office, with phrases like handled and potential problem scribbled beside them. "It made me uncomfortable," she said. When I asked him about it, he took the paper out of my hands and told me it was just business. But the look in his eyes, I knew something wasn't right. A mother knows. The prosecution then introduced Government Exhibit 42. "Do you recognize this document?" the prosecutor asked. Janice nodded. "Yes. These are notes I started keeping after that conversation. I began writing down everything.